Hi, this is Michelle, and I'm Shelly from RA's Life. Shelly's RA life is my life with rheumatoid arthritis. Rheumatoid arthritis, if you don't know, is an autoimmune disorder. It affects your joints, your internal organs, and has no cure. It's a debilitating disease that is also invisible. So to most people, I look very robust, very healthy, but every day I live with pain. The pain goes and comes. Sometimes it's really bad, sometimes it's very tolerable. For the majority of the last 6 or 7 years that I've been diagnosed, I haven't had to have daily pain medication. But in the last 2 months, my pain has been so intolerable. Hi, Chip. My nosy cat trying to check out what's going on. That I finally went back to my rheumatologist and asked for some pain medication. But because I work a full-time job where I have to be very alert and multitask, I asked for something non-narcotic. So right now I'm taking Celebrex, which is a daily pain medication. Not too bad, as long as your stomach can tolerate it. So right now I'm taking my Celebrex after I eat and with something for the nausea. One of the things that my life is not RA. Although I live with it and I deal with it every day, I also have a full-time job. I live with my folks who are in their 70s. My dad just turned 80, and we help each other out. They're on a fixed income, my income, living in the area that I live in, and daily life with medications, etc. I would have to live in a really crappy little apartment and drive a really crappy little car, and my life would not be the quality that I needed to be for my health. I would be under a lot of stress all the time, and stress is also a factor in RA that is not helpful. It just makes the disease worse. So what I've been doing is living with my folks. We get along really well, which is great. They leave for 2 to 3 months in the summer to go to Canada, which is where we're from, to visit their family, because we're the only Americans in our family. So I do get the house to myself for 3 months, but I also maintain it for them. So this way they don't have to board it up. They don't have to worry about hurricane season. We live in Florida, so summer is peak hurricane season time. One of the things that I do like to do is not focus on my disease, which now that I'm living with my parents, I don't have to worry so much about making money to pay my bills, medical bills, everything. So I can actually go and have fun again. And when I have fun, I do Disney. I live in Central Florida, where Disney is 30 minutes away. Universal is also 30 minutes away. On the West Coast in Tampa, which is about 2 hours-ish, depending on how you drive. There's Busch Gardens. And then, of course, we have all the fabulous beaches in Florida, but I'm a very white, freckly girl who's had skin cancer, so I don't do the beaches very much. When I go to the parks, I lather myself up in 50 sunscreen made for babies, because I have sensitive skin also. So one of the things that I want to do is to share my life as a person living with RA who also likes to go out and have fun, which your physical disabilities can affect. So as a Disney lover, I want to share my tips and tricks and things for Disney, show you my experiences that I have. It's not always about going to the parks. It's not always about riding the rides. Sometimes, because I am an annual pass holder, I can go in and out of the parks whenever I want. Sometimes I just go to the resorts. Sometimes I just go to downtown Disney, which is a shopping area. But when you're in those areas, for myself personally, and for one of my best friends who also deals with a lot of stress in her life, the Disney feel, the security of the parks, the magic that the employees try to do, they're very much so about customer service. They're very much about making your day a good day. I found that it really relieves a lot of my stress. I can go and have fun, even if it's just to walk and watch a show, or just go to resorts and maybe listen to some music in one of the bars at one of the resorts, or just go have dinner or grab a snack at some of the resorts. Some of the resorts have amazing restaurants that you wouldn't know about unless you stayed at them. Being local, we have that advantage. So what I want to do with this video series, or with my blog or vlog or whatever you call these things, because I am an older woman, you know, technology is new to me. I want to share that Disney life with an invisible disability, because just the other day on one of the Disney Facebook pages, there was a lady posting about how horribly she was treated by another Disney park person getting on a bus from one of the parks to go back to one of the resorts. And it just really brought to me how horribly people like myself are treated by people who don't understand what it's like to live with an invisible disability. I look fine. A lot of the time, I can walk fine. For my health, I have to exercise to keep my joints up, to help lose weight, which is not easy when you're on medications that make you gain weight. I eat predominantly a vegan diet. I walk every day when I can. There's days when my legs are so swollen or my ankles are so painful, or even just the tiniest little step will crack the bones in my feet and they hurt like crazy. Very few people realize that you can look totally normal on the outside, but every little joint and all those little tiny bones in your feet and your hands can cause you an incredible amount of pain. So there are days when I can go to the parks and I can walk for a while, and then my hips will lock up. And fortunately, I have a friend, actually a couple of friends, who are very understanding. They know that when I go to the parks, if I say I need to sit, they're like, cool, let's go sit, or we'll go ride this ride that we know you don't like, and you can chill here in the shade, or we'll get you a water bottle and you can sit here in this restaurant and chill out for a while and we'll come back and get you. Meanwhile, we're texting back and forth, so it's not like I'm alone, and I love to people watch, which is a very good thing when you have a disability and you can't always participate. So, and the one thing about Disney parks I can tell you is awesome is if you are sitting alone or you're kind of like hanging out and chilling, and you're sitting like in a public area where there's benches and stuff, people will come and sit next to you. And I don't know if it's the people that go to Disney or if it's the atmosphere of the park or what it is that does this, but people will just start talking to each other. I have met some incredibly amazing people. In fact, one of my friends, Michelle, who's also Michelle, I'm Michelle, we met at a park. We were chilling out. She also has a disability. And she was chilling and relaxing, and she likes the same music that we do. A lot of the parks have live bands, live music, and as fans of those bands, as being locals, we could go and listen to those bands and not necessarily have to do anything else in the park. But with their pass, it's free to go in, and you chill out, you sit on a bench, and you listen to some music. Well, we met, and we've been friends ever since. So one of the things that's really cool about the parks is you can meet really amazing people and make friends with them. And this blog is supposed to be about my Disney life, my RA life, and life in general. I'm going to try and keep it positive and happy because that's what I try to do. I try to be happy all the time. There's days when I'm in a lot of pain, and my coworkers who know me well can tell by the way I'm acting, which is usually very quiet. I'll usually come in, get into my computers at work, and just do my job and not really participate in the chitter chatter or joke or stand up and, you know, chill out with everybody. I'll just get to work, and I'll pretty much just stay at my desk and not move around too much. And those that know me will come over and say, are you having a bad day? And I'll just say yes, and they'll like rub my shoulders and they'll say, okay, well, I'm here for you if I need you, which I can't even tell you how awesome it is to work at a job where the people actually care about you, where your supervisors even know when you're having a bad day, and if you need to go home, they don't question you, they just let you go. But I try to work every day. I don't want to go on disability. It's not an option because there's no quality of life on disability. The money you get is not enough to survive and have good quality of life. I mean, I could sit at home and do absolutely nothing and gain weight, or I can work as long as I possibly can, which I plan on doing. I'm 53, and I hope to be able to retire at a normal retirement age, like 65 or 70. I mean, yeah, it'd be awesome if I won the lottery or something like that, and you know, I could retire and travel, which is something that I really want to do, is travel the world before my body breaks down on me and I have to do it in a wheelchair. But right now I can walk. There's days I use a cane. Also, when I go to the parks, I sometimes will bring, if I think I'm having a bad day or if I've had to medicate a lot in order to go, I will bring what's called a chair cane. It's a really cool cane. I don't have it on me right now, but I'll show it to you in another video, because I'll be showing things that I use to help me get through the day. So one of the things that I do is I bring a chair cane. And the chair cane is basically a tripod like you would use for your video cameras or your photo cameras or whatever. But it's got a little seat on it, and it's very small. It's not meant to be sat on for long periods of time. But when you're standing in a line for a ride, and the line is 45 minutes or an hour, and your hips lock up on you or your knees lock up on you, or because of the heat and the standing, your legs start to swell up on you, and my left leg will get to be 2 or 3 times its normal size, which makes it almost impossible to stand on. So I bring the chair cane. I don't always use it, but sometimes there are days when I have to sit, and unfortunately in lines there's no chairs, there's no benches. You either have to sit on the ground, which if I did that, I would need 4 or 5 people to help me get back up. So that's not an option. So what I do is I bring my chair cane, and when my knees or ankles or hips start to hurt really bad, I will pop open the chair cane and sit down on it, which it's not ladylike. So if you're a dress wearer or a very ladylike person, it may be uncomfortable for you, because literally you have to straddle it with the handle sitting in front of you for the balance. So that's how I sit. And I wear shorts or jeans usually when I go to the park, so it's not a big deal for me, and I really don't care. I want to be comfortable and I want to have fun. So that's what I do. And the other thing is, people look at you funny. Like, who the heck are you and why are you sitting on a chair like that? I don't know, whatever. Or at parades, when I go and sit near the edge of the sidewalk and I set up my chair cane. You know, people are like, well, you're not supposed to bring a chair into the parks, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, well, you can bring a chair cane if you're handicapped, which I am. And I try not to be nasty. I understand that a lot of people do not understand what an invisible disability is. And there's lots of them out there, because a lot of times it's internal organ stuff, like your heart or your lungs. Joints that don't work that nobody can actually see because there's not an obvious scar, there's not a cast or something or a physical deformity where your body is, you know, all torn up, which very luckily right now, if you look at my hands, most RA patients have very deformed hands because their joints are starting to bend in the wrong way. Well, I'm very lucky. My hands are not deformed, which is a good thing because I type all day. I'm on a computer all day. So I need to be able to use a mouse, and I have 2 keyboards and 2 mice and a phone and a radio and cell phones that we use for talking back and forth to our guys that we work with, and little Nextels, which are Sprint phones that work like radios. So I'm constantly squeezing and using my hands. So I'm very lucky in the fact that right now you can kind of see maybe that this thumb is slightly larger than this thumb. This thumb used to be locked. I couldn't bend it for the longest time, and this is actually as far as I can bend it right now. It's like that. Okay, it's very hard for me. I'm stressing to push it. This thumb works really well. This thumb, it's making little popping and cracking sounds. And this finger is also a little bit larger and starting to get a little extra bone, extra cartilage in there. So I'm very lucky. A lot of RA patients, and if I can, I'll try and find a picture of RA hands and show them to you. This is the first thing a rheumatologist looks at when you go to their office. They ask to see your hands, because this is usually the first place that the damage shows. But it's also every joint in your body. Every place that there's a joint in your body, it's your neck, it's your spine, it's your ribs, it's your shoulder, it's your elbows, it's the little bones in your wrist, it's each little tiny bone in your hand. Sometimes I will get pain right up in here, which is like weird because people don't think there's joints, but there's literally tiny little bones that go through your hand. Same thing with your feet. There's little tiny bones in your feet. And when those joints don't rub together right, they hurt really bad. And there's little tiny joints and bones in your ankles as well. And then you've got the joints in your knees and your hips, and of course, everything. And then the other thing with RA, which I've been fortunate so far to not have any damage yet, but I have to go to the doctor and get my blood work done, check for damage to my heart, my liver, my kidneys, because RA is not the arthritis that most people get as they get old. That's osteoarthritis, which is totally different. That's a calcium buildup, comes with age and damage over time. RA, rheumatoid arthritis, is your immune system, which we were given to help us fight diseases, bacteria, infection. When it works great, which with me, I hardly ever get sick, which is great. But it gets a little cuckoo crazy and it attacks my healthy tissues in my body. And that's what everybody with an autoimmune disorder does. Their immune system gets cuckoo crazy and attacks healthy tissue. And some people, depending on the type of autoimmune disorder they have, it could be your heart only, or your kidneys only, or your lungs only. With the rheumatoid arthritis, it can be anything in your body, anytime, anywhere. So that's another thing that, like I have to go see a cardiologist. I do get chest pains. So far, they have not been heart related. It's just when I get inflammation or swelling in the smaller arteries and veins near my heart, I get chest pain. So far, it hasn't led to a heart attack or stroke, thank God. But those are all things that I'm aware of. I used to be an EMT. I used to be an emergency medical technician. I worked on an ambulance for several years. I love medicine. My family is mostly in medicine. My mom was a nurse. My brother's a paramedic. So when I got diagnosed, I went insane online looking up information. So I'm probably one of the more well-educated RA patients you'll ever meet. Like, my doctors can talk to me about my disease and how it progresses and all the different TNF factors and all that fun stuff that most people don't understand. And one of the things that I've done is, in my research, I found out a lot of people don't understand it. And this is where I got off on a tangent. Anyway, what I try to do when I encounter people that are not nice or kind of look at me cockeyed or whatever it is, I explain to them that I have rheumatoid arthritis. It's an invisible disease. And if they ask questions, I'm very happy to answer them. And I don't do it snotty. I'm not trying to be nasty. I'm not trying to say that I'm better than you because I have an autoimmune disorder. I'm trying to educate you, because autoimmune disorders are on the rise in this country, as well as all over the world. And from some of the stuff that I've read, the theory is it's a reaction to all the chemicals that we're exposed to now, as opposed to 50, 60, 70 years ago before industrialization. Plastics, like one of the things that they found in my blood is that I had a very high level of PBAs in my blood. And those of you who are aware know that PBAs are like in plastic containers, like water bottles, your Tupperware containers, the little cheapy throwaway containers you get from fast food restaurants or that you buy at Walmart or whatever. So when I got diagnosed with that, when that was discovered in my blood, one of the things the doctor recommended was switch to glass. Which back in the day, when my mom was younger, and even as me as a child in the 60s and the 70s, my mom had glass containers. She had glass casserole bowls, she had glass bakeware, everything was stored in a glass container. Well, over time, for convenience or whatever, lightweight plastic containers. And because I always have been the type of person that I like to bring my own food to work and stuff, when I was an EMT, when I was a zookeeper, I used to bring my food in plastic containers, heat it up in the microwave and eat it. Well, apparently that was a bad thing, because the PBAs in the plastic leach into the food and then you ingest it. And that can be one of the reasons why I developed autoimmune. Although it is also genetic, which I do have family members who have autoimmune disorders, not RA. I have one family member that's not blood related that has RA. My aunt has fibromyalgia, and I have a great aunt that died from MS. So it is genetic, and you can develop in families multiple forms of autoimmune disorders, another thing I learned. But also, according to science and doctors and things, that our exposure to chemicals in our lives can also cause somebody who may have a propensity for an autoimmune disorder to develop one. So I switched to glass containers, your Pyrex, cooking in glass containers. Switched to glass water bottles, which you can find online, Amazon, all those places. You can find them in, the grocery store, Walmart, Target, wherever. Switched to glass containers, switched to metal containers like stainless steel water bottles or coffee cups or whatever, anything you want to carry your stuff in. And then filtering everything as much as possible. I stopped using laundry detergent that has chemicals and colors and scents. Everything is free and clear, because that's also another thing that can trigger autoimmune. So now I've kind of switched to almost all organic, natural stuff, which, everybody's like, oh, it's just a fad or whatever. No, it's a real thing, and you really need to do it, especially if you're having health problems that nobody can figure out. And your white blood cell count, which is another thing. Before I was diagnosed with RA, for about a year, every time I went to the doctor complaining of not feeling well, and I had a lot of little symptoms, but nobody could figure anything out. Every time they did my blood work, my white blood cell count was high. And the doctor would say, well, you must be fighting a cold, or you must be fighting a virus, or you must be just getting over being sick. Well, no, what it was is my immune system was in hyper mode and attacking my body. And that was what was making me tired and nauseated and achy and not able to sleep. Over time, I'll go over all the different odd symptoms that come up and stuff. But basically, this is an introduction to what you can expect if you hang out on my page. I also have an Instagram page, and I also have a blog. Everything's been kind of like a little bit here and there when I have time. I'm going to try and dedicate myself more, because ultimately I want to educate people. I want to spread knowledge and positivity as much as I can. And as you can see in the back, Leah, Carrie Fisher. Leah has been my idol, my inspiration since I was a child in the 70s. I went and saw my first Star Wars movie back in 72. Yes, I'm old enough to have seen Star Wars, the first one ever in theaters. But I'm a big Star Wars fan, big Disney fan. Over time you'll see little gadgets and gadgets around my house that have Star Wars or Disney or something. And my cats. I have 3 cats. I have Chip, who's a big black cat. He's named after Chip from Beauty and the Beast, the little cup with a chip. And I have Merida, who's my favorite princess, Disney princess from Brave, the redheaded, curly, fight for her own hand princess. Merida is a rescue, but both of my cats, all 3 of my cats, are in a form a rescue. Chip came from a rescue where he was found, a litter of kittens where the mommy died, and all the kittens were hand raised. And that's how I got Chip. He was a little tiny kitten, weighed about a pound, and now he weighs 20 pounds. He's like a giant Black Panther cat. He's very large, he's very long, he's very tall, he weighs 20 pounds. The vet says he's not fat, so he's just a big cat. Then there's Merida, who's this little tiny black and white cat that I work on the Florida Turnpike in traffic management, and we have these guys called road rangers. And they go out up and down the street and they help people that are broken down on the side of the road. Well, we had this lady call in and say she was hearing a weird noise in her car. Got a road ranger to go out to her and help her out, and discovered a little tiny kitten trapped in the wheel well of her car. Well, the lady didn't want anything to do with the kitten. The road ranger didn't know what to do with the kitten, so he found a box and put her in it and brought her to the office, which technically having animals in the office was a big no-no, but it was a Sunday and nobody was there. Me, being the kind-hearted animal lover and also already having cats, said, I'll take her home, I'll get her cleaned up, and we'll see if somebody will adopt her. Well, 2 years later, she's still mine. She's been fixed, she's been given all her shots, defleed, dewormed, all that fun stuff, and she is now mine. She's a beautiful little black and white kitten, but she is feral, so she does not like to be held, but she does love her people. She comes and hangs out with us, and she loves us. And she is my little brave princess because she rode in that car at 80 miles an hour on the turnpike. And to this day, if any noise or something comes around, she will run over there and growl at it. So she's still, and she's only like a little 5-pound cat. She's fully grown and she's 5 pounds. And when they had her fixed, they discovered she only had 1 kidney. So even more reason for me to keep her because, you know, damaged like me. So we take care of each other. And then there's my big cat, who is not named after a Disney princess because she came with her name. She was in another family with a lot of cats, and she was the dominant cat, and she ate everybody's food, and she was kind of nasty. So my brother took her in from a fellow firefighter, and her name is Ember. And she's black and orange, but she's mostly black with a little bit of orange and white. So she does look like embers, E-M-B-E-R-S, embers. But she's a big, fat 13 or 14-year-old cat. She doesn't move a lot anymore. She's getting old. She doesn't really like the other cats too much. She's very independent. But she is a lover, and she does come and sit on your lap and sit next to you. So you'll be seeing all that. And you'll be seeing trips to Disney. When I can, I will try to bring my camera and videotape whatever happens, anything new. I do help admin a Disney page on Facebook, which is really fun because in helping other people, I found out stuff about Disney all the time. And I like trivia in my personal life besides Disney and going to Universal. I like movies. For an older woman, a lot of people think it's funny that I'm into the Avengers, I'm into Marvel, Star Wars, I love sci-fi, Doctor Who. I grew up watching sci-fi theater on Saturday mornings after cartoons. We would clean the house, and then at lunch when the sci-fi theater would come on TV, we would sit and eat our sandwiches and our soup in front of the TV and watch old black and white movies like, you know, Creature from the Black Lagoon and The Mummy, the original and the black and white, Bela Lugosi and all those guys. So I do have, you know, something besides Disney that I like. That's partly why I like going to Universal, because that's where you see a lot of the old monster movies, and that's where they came from. I like to hike when I can. I love nature. I was a zookeeper for 8 years. I love animals, obviously. So you'll be seeing little bits and pieces of that in my life. So basically, Shelly's RA life is about me and my life with RA. But RA is not who I am. It does not define me, obviously, because I love everything else. I love my job. I love the people I work with. Life is good 90% of the time, except for on the days when I have a rough day. Oh, and one thing that's fascinating about being an RA patient and having arthritis as well as osteoarthritis, RA, is that I am a human barometer. I know when the weather's going to change. That's my superpower. Didn't know that, did you? When we get fronts here in Florida, which we do a lot, especially in the winter, when those of you who live up north are suffering through your snowstorms and hail and all that stuff, and we get our little fronts here that push through and bring us rain and cold. Well, you know, cold. We're Florida, 50 degrees. My body shuts down. Yeah, it's great. Anyway, so that's your introduction to Shelly's RA life. I hope you enjoy it. I hope you come and join me whenever I post. Hopefully I will be posting once or twice a week if I have time. Like I said, I do work a full-time job. I do live with my parents, so I do have responsibilities here around the house. I do have to help pay bills and clean and blah, 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 you know. Sometimes I feel like a teenager still because, you know, clean your room, do the laundry, sleep. So anyway, it is what it is. I hope you enjoy it and hope to see you soon. Thank you.